What's up, guys? Today I am going to go over what I believe to be one of the most affordable fishing backpacks, and that is none other than the good old Bass Pro Qualifier 360. As you guys know, the fishing industry can be quite expensive, so when you're looking for inexpensive items to not break the bank, it can be pretty difficult to find stuff that is actually worth you spending the lower cost. So the Bass Pro 360 tackle backpack is a very inexpensive option if you're in the market for a new tackle bag. I personally prefer tackle backpacks just because normally I'm the young guy on the boat, so I'm doing a lot of hauling from the truck to the boat, and I like to have as many hands free as possible. That way I can carry as much gear in one trip. Therefore, I opt to go the fishing backpack route, and I will say that the Bass Pro Qualifier is one of the cheaper options out there. In fact, I don't really think there are any options that are only 30 bucks like this particular bag. Now, the $30 price tag is not without its limitations, however, and I will get to that a little bit later in the video. But first, let me go over the pros of this backpack. And as always, of course, my gear is used because I want to make sure I have tested it to its limits before I give you guys my honest opinion on it. So if you see my bag a little raggedy and abused, it's because I am using it every single time I go fishing, and I want to make sure that you guys know that it is tested by me in order for you guys to get the most accurate review of this bag. Now, the first thing is, I will say this thing does have a ton of room. There are so many storage pockets in it. Obviously, you have the main compartment here, just like any backpack, of course, and it has a ton of room in it. I personally just keep some random knickknacks in there. I have my fishing gloves, my fish grips, some sunscreen, some random little lures, but it has a ton of room for whatever you might really want to fit in there. Now, moving on to the front, you actually have this section as well, which is just a Velcro strap, and it has a nice compartment where I personally keep my soft plastics. As you can see, I have a mountain of soft plastics in that compartment. And it's really nice because it's got that Velcro, it's easy access. If I want to switch up my baits, I just open it up. It's right there, ready to go for my next throw. Additionally, in this front pack, I don't know if you can see it, there are two mesh Velcro pockets that you can stick some random little things in there as well. Personally, I keep some of my smaller hooks, terminal tackle, things like that in these compartments. As you can see in the other one, I have some smaller circle hooks as well. So overall, the storage in the front and main compartment is really good. Now, moving on to the bottom here, this is where you will keep all your hard boxes. The top compartment is advertised as being able to hold up to 6 360 utility boxes or your 3600 Plano, whichever system you choose to use, and also 4 additional 360 boxes or 3600 in this bottom compartment right here. What I personally have in this bottom compartment are 4 random boxes, but it's good for what I use. I have a big box for my offshore tackle, and then I have an inshore terminal tackle box. I also have my inshore jigs. And then lastly, I have an actual nice little container of the good stuff, aka gulp. So as you can see, the bottom does have quite a bit of storage for however many boxes you might need. And if you're a little bit more organized than I am, you could probably actually store a lot more gear in the top compartment as well, with the ability to store 6 3600 size boxes in the top pocket. Now, moving on to the side, each side has a little compartment here and here, and that's typically where I'm keeping all of my leader material. Each side could comfortably hold about 3 spools of leader material. I have 3 on each, typically one side for my inshore stuff, one side for my offshore stuff, but you can also keep other random little things in there as well if you wanted to store your gloves or any other random knickknacks. I think it's just really perfect for your leader material because of the way that it's made. So those are all the compartments. Another feature that this particular bag does advertise is the ability for you to actually zip this particular portion off and separate it into a top and a bottom bag. Now, me personally, I've never done that just because I'm the type of person where I like to have everything I possibly can with me at one time. And I actually have a smaller little tackle box if I'm going to be packing really light. So other than that, I keep everything in this particular bag. Additionally, there is an actual compartment on the back. I've personally never really used that compartment much either, just because if I am going to be wearing the backpack and you put something in the back, depending upon what it is, it can become uncomfortable or just an awkward thing to have poking you in the back. Now, like I said, for 30 bucks, that is one of the biggest pros to this particular bag. It is one of the most inexpensive backpacks on the market. And I have used bags twice the price of this bag that did not last as long. So it does have that going for it. However, that price is also something that is a limitation as far as the quality of components. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the cons. Now, one of the biggest cons in this particular bag, especially if you're a saltwater angler, is the zippers. The zippers are notorious for getting corroded, and this is actually my second backpack that the same issue has happened to. It also happened to Mr. Peters in his bag. If you're going to be fishing in salt water, you really need to wash these zippers down or just take care of them, because if you don't take care of them, the zippers are going to corrode to the point where you can't zip them anymore. Now, you can combat that by a few different ways. You could spray down your zippers every time that you go out in the salt water, which I personally don't do just because you're already spending a lot of time washing down your reels and your rods and things like that. And also by spraying on the backpack, because the backpack isn't waterproof, if you spray water in there, well, a lot of the stuff on the inside of your bag is going to get wet. Alternatively, you could just make sure that you use the backpack. They corrode when they're not in use. So the times in which they've corroded the worst for me is when I haven't used the bag. So if you're lucky and you can get to go fishing every weekend, well, you shouldn't really have a problem. But if you go on some spells where maybe you can't fish for a month or 2 months, God forbid 3 months, then you might have to just keep that in the back of your mind that those zippers might not work the next time you go out. In addition to the zippers, you do have to keep in mind that some of the other components aren't going to stand up to salt water, as well as some stainless steel options. For instance, if you can see here, the strap is held on by this little carabiner. Well, on the other side of my backpack on the right strap, that carabiner actually completely rusted out and just broke. And so therefore I can't really keep it strapped. What I had to do is end up tying the strap to the backpack, which at the end of the day isn't a big deal. It's a $30 backpack, but you just have to keep that in mind. If you aren't aware of that and your backpack strap breaks, well, you could drop your backpack, let's say in the water, or you could drop a bunch of stuff out of your backpack and look like a Guggen while you are at the marina or on the dock. Just one of those things to keep in mind. Now, lastly, and this is really just kind of a quality of life thing, the backpack just itself isn't that rigid. Now, it's not a big deal, but when you are trying to get stuff out of it, it tends to flop over on itself. As you can see here, it's just flopping over, which again, isn't a huge deal, but when you're in the heat of the moment and there's a hot bite and you're trying to get into your tackle bag, having to fumble around and keep pushing that backpack up is kind of a pain in the butt. And there are some other options out there that are a little bit more rigid, but you are going to probably pay 3 to 4 times what you pay for this one in order to get some of those products. So overall, it is a really great backpack, especially for 30 bucks. If you don't want to shell upwards of $100 on some of these advanced backpacks, then I would highly recommend you pick one of these up. If it will last you a year or 2 years, it's definitely worth getting, just because you're going to be able to get 3 or 4 backpacks out of the price of one of those other backpacks. And I haven't really tested any of those other high-end backpacks, so who knows how well they would last compared to this one in the salt water. You never know. You have a ton of storage in there. It's really comfortable while you're wearing it, and it's really inexpensive. For 30 bucks, you really can't go wrong. Yes, the zippers are of concern if you're going to be fishing in saltwater. Take care of it and just make sure that you are aware that the zippers could potentially corrode. I think you'll be completely fine having this backpack for a long time. So if you have any questions about this particular backpack, make sure to leave those in the comments below. I will link this backpack down below as well if you want to pick one up yourself. And if you do have any alternatives, or if you want to see any other particular gear reviews or suggestions, make sure to leave those in the comments below. I'd love to do some more gear reviews for you guys. And until the next video, I hope you're able to get out on the water and catch some fish.